Thank you for joining us for The Drive Back, the movie podcast where we imitate our favorite thing to do after a movie, which of course is to talk about it on the ride home. I'm Garrett, and as always, I'm joined by my good friend and co-host Adrian.
Hey there.
And today we've got a Valentine's Day special, and because this is going to be coming out on Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day to all of you out there. And to do
Yes.
that, we're going to be celebrating the day by watching the day. We're watching Valentine's Day, the prequel to New Year's Eve.
Yes, the prequel.
So we'll see what happens. But all of this and more is coming up on the drive back. Alrighty, back at it here again with a Valentine's Day special. But before we before we jump in, I don't know why I said drive and jive at the same time. Before we jump into the Valentine's Day special, it is worth it to note, for those of you who do not follow movie news or kind of like industry stuff going on, we did lose a very influential member of the film industry back. It'll be on Tuesday, which was like maybe the 8th or the 9th. But we did lose Douglas Trumbull, who is a visual effects genius responsible for 2001: A Space Odyssey. He worked on Star Wars and Blade Runner, and is just responsible for creating some of the best visual effects of all time. On top of doing the Back to the Future ride at Universal, like he's responsible for theater technology, ride technology. He is an incredibly just valuable member of the industry, and a quick, we wanted to do a rest in peace moment for Douglas Trumbull. But let's go ahead and jump in to Valentine's Day, which was released in 2010. It was directed by Gary Marshall and stars Julia Roberts, Jamie Foxx, and Anne Hathaway. Intertwining couples and singles in Los Angeles break up and make up based on the pressures and expectations of Valentine's Day. It was nominated for 2 Razzies, for Worst Actor for Taylor Lautner and Worst Supporting Actor for George Lopez, and it won 2 for Worst Actor for Ashton Kutcher and Worst Supporting Actress for Jessica Alba. Now, let's go ahead and jump to the movie. Adrian, I know you had just finished watching this movie not even an hour ago.
Yeah.
Did you say you'd seen this one before?
Yeah, I saw this in theaters. I hadn't seen New Year's Eve.
Gotcha. Okay. Well,
I had seen this a long time ago, but I didn't. Even while watching it, I was in my head going like, I think this is the plot for this person. Like I was trying to piece it together, trying to remember, and it was definitely there. I had like the sticky notes in my brain, but I had them all out of order. So it was nice to watch it again and kind of re-piece it back together.
Gotcha. So what are your thoughts coming out of it?
I think it's way better than New Year's Eve. I think it has a lot more through plot than New Year's Eve did. I would say New Year's Eve had one better plot, which was the Zac Efron and lady plot, but I felt like this one, the whole movie as a whole, felt like it had a more consistent following plot all the way through. So that was more enjoyable. And I also thought that this was just generally acted better, and that in general it was just a better movie than New Year's Eve.
Interesting. I went into this with, I don't even know what kind of expectations I went into this with, because we had seen New Year's Eve, and I was like, this probably not going to be the next Citizen Kane here, so I should probably keep my expectations at the level I came out of New Year's Eve with. And in a shocking twist here on the podcast, I'm going to disagree with you.
Oh wow!
It's a really
Never happened
shocking
before.
twist. This is the only time I have ever had to watch a movie in chunks over the course of a couple of days because it was so bad I could not watch it for more than 20 or 15, 20 minutes.
Oh, that's very interesting. Yeah, I
And
100% disagree.
I think I did like 2 days of 15, 20-minute things, and I was like, okay, I got to do this. And I literally took a shot of tequila to try and get through the movie. This was
Wow.
that cringy, that bad, and I'm tired of Hollywood thinking that this is how normal people act and that these situations are normal. And by the way, Taylor Swift is one of the worst performances I've ever seen in any movie. When, especially the part in the elevator when she's talking to Jennifer Garner. Holy crap, that was bad. Anyhow,
Okay.
let's go ahead.
I disagree.
But
I don't know what I don't know what you want me to say. I disagree.
I don't know. I'm just speaking my piece. But if for any of you who are interested in watching the Valentine's Day film, it is available to stream on HBO Max. I think it's a permanent member. Maybe it's one of the rotating ones. Maybe it'll cycle out at some point in the future. But as of February 2022, it is on HBO Max. I mean, I feel like we should say that because sometimes in our earlier episodes, those movies aren't on the platforms that we say that they're on.
That's true. I know right now in the film industry, Disney is pulling off all Marvel shows from Netflix at the end of the month.
Which is weird. I wonder if they're going to be putting them on Disney Plus.
Yeah, to keep it all in-house.
Gotcha. Which means that they're all canon now. Hopefully.
No. I don't think just because they're on Disney Plus, they're all canon. I think Multiverse of Madness is going to make them all canon.
Hopefully. We'll see.
Yeah.
There's a lot of big hopes for that film. But this episode isn't about Multiverse of Madness or Disney Plus. It is.
Well, it
about
kind of is.
Valentine's.
This is the Infinity War of holiday movies.
You know, I literally just re-listened to the New Year's Eve episode where you said that was the end game of holidays.
Yeah. And I think this one's better. So
And
this
we
is
said
the
this
Infinity War.
But let's go ahead and drop a spoiler warning. We're going to be talking spoilers for Valentine's Day. So do with that what you will. So Adrian, what are some of your deeper thoughts? Like, so what made you like this? And I don't want you to take this the wrong way when I ask this question because sometimes it sounds accusatory. But like, what made it better for you than New Year's Eve?
Well, like I said, I think the through plot was a lot more interesting. I think Ashton Kutcher's story was more the through plot, whereas I think Zac Efron's was the through plot in New Year's Eve. Like, at least just the main focus. Like, they're the person touching everyone kind of thing. And I actually bought into the story a lot more. I thought the moral dilemma of having to tell his best friend that she's dating someone that's already married, and the whole thing, like, he proposed and everybody around him knew it wasn't a good idea, but no one told him. So that kind of led into, like, well, you have to tell someone. Like, wouldn't you have rather known? I thought that whole moral dilemma was really cool, and I loved kind of the twist where he gets to her at the airport to try to save her, and she goes anyway. Even though he says, it's true. I just thought it kind of subverted my expectations quite a bit, and I thought that whole storyline, which again touched everyone, like she's the teacher, he's friends with this person, they come to him for flowers, like that main point of the story, I thought was really engaging and really entertaining.
Sure, I don't remember there being a through plot though in New Year's Eve. Like, I know Zac Efron was involved with a couple different people, but he wasn't involved with everyone in the way that Ashton Kutcher is involved with everyone in this one.
And maybe that's my point. Yeah, I think like I guess maybe that's the plot I remember most from New Year's Eve. But this movie, Ashton Kutcher like is the center. He is like the gauntlet of all the Infinity Stones that are being passed around.
It's different, like rosebuds instead of like stones. Like I have the orchid, I have the rose.
Yeah, and I mean,
I'll do it myself.
There was a ton of people from Grey's Anatomy in it. Like definitely, you could tell they pulled like one person, and then they were like, I can also get someone pretty famous, like Friends. You could kind of see that like they all brought each other in to make this movie bigger and bigger. And I don't really get why George Lopez got worst supporting actor. Nominated, yeah, that's true. But I don't really get. I mean, he's not great, but he has like 5 lines. Like, I don't know why he got nominated out of other people. Like, I definitely think Jessica Alba deserved that. She was so bad. Like, the moment when they break up and he says, like, did you even consider it? And then her little monologue of, like, do you want someone to consider it? It seemed like she was laughing. Like, it seemed really weird, and it felt weird, but, yeah, I think Ashton Kutcher carried this movie 1,000%. Him and... Oh my gosh, I always forget. It's not Sandra Bullock. It's not... Is it Anne Hathaway?
Anne Hathaway?
The girl, his friend.
Oh, Jennifer Garner.
Jennifer Garner. I think they were the best part by far of this whole movie, and I think that was enough. It made it better than New Year's Eve for me.
Sure. I mean, I think that it's kind of like the same thing that we were talking about with Cinderella, and I know you're going to disagree with me on this. When we said that James Corden, who's usually the worst part of any movie, was the best part of a movie, it's the same with Ashton Kutcher here for me. Like, usually
Oh,
the
and yeah,
worst
we've
part of any
talked about that. I
project.
love Ashton Kutcher. Yeah.
I don't. So there you go. But I just yeah, I mean I can see how like he and Jennifer Garner definitely at least tried here. I feel like this was a very just easy paycheck for a lot of these actors to be like,
Totally.
yeah,
Bradley
like
Cooper's
let's
in it for like 10 minutes.
yeah that whole airplane thing must have taken like not even a day to shoot.
And then just the couple of shots at the end to tie it in.
Like oh like it was an afterthought. Like
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think people kept bringing in others famous people. So they were like, okay, well, what's another plot we can add? Like it had so many layers, and I think it
it's
just kept getting more.
it's like any of those projects you're like, yeah, I know a guy who would be really good to handle like this aspect of our project, and you're like, okay, sure, yeah, bring him in. And then he brings in 10 people, and then
Well, like you
they
think
bring in more people.
Ashton Kutcher brought in, or either way, vice versa, but Topher Grace, that '70s show. Then there's the two, the football player and Patrick Dempsey are both from Grey's Anatomy. And then there's just like so many of those things where people just kept, you could tell it was like, hey, I also know someone that needs work. And it's
Yeah,
like easy paycheck for sure.
this person won't question a horrible script. Let's go ahead and get him into the movie. Like,
I definitely will say I did this, I didn't get to do what I did for New Year's Eve. I didn't get to just drink and relax while watching. This was definitely a midday watch for me. And I think these movies are way more fun if you're just hanging out ready to have a good time. I think watching this movie as a task was definitely a detriment to viewing it. I think it would have been better had I just watched it casually, like on Valentine's Day,
mm-hmm.
or had more fun with it. I think doing it like on the schedule and having to kind of get it in before this, not that, I mean, that's obviously what a podcast is. You have to do stuff. But I think it would have been more fun to relax and enjoy it the same way I did New Year's Eve. So I think I kind of shot myself in the foot on that one.
I usually I would highly disagree with like imbibing any substance to make a movie better. But I think if I was surrounded by friends and we were all drinking, like, and we all had our own different rules for a drinking game, it would have
I
made this
think the
movie
drinking
slightly
game
less
would be
painful.
super cool to have it be like at the beginning of the movie, the moment that every character has been introduced, you have to pause the movie and pick the connection. Everyone picks their own connection web for every single character. Like you just have to guess who everyone is and what the relationship is, and then as the movie unfolds, one person has the rule book, and if you don't get it right, you have to like finish your drink every time they reveal a major plot point or a connection.
That would be interesting. I would also want to do it where, for me, I would want to take a shot every time Hollywood expects us to accept that that's how normal people act.
So what part did you feel the way normal people didn't act?
Like the like to me like the conversation on the elevator between Taylor Swift and Jennifer Garner was like, yeah, people have this like conversations all the time, but someone would have like, when she's like, oh, my boyfriend told me to look outside my apartment, I would have been like, oh, cool, is that where the bear came from? I wouldn't have stretched it out 30 seconds to keep it going.
Well, I think Jennifer
And then
Garner.
expecting us to assume that Taylor Swift and Emma Roberts are like high school students when they're clearly like in their 20s. Like,
How old was
and
Taylor
then,
Swift?
but then also that there's this huge emphasis on everyone's part that Valentine's Day is this like, it's like a Christmas level event, right? Like there's a line out the door for flowers 24/7. There's like a construction worker in there with a hat on, and like a hammer in his hand, and he's like, I came to get it for my jackhammer. And like just like stereotypes all throughout the door, and then the doctor who has his, his mistress who's it just every single thing. It felt like a bunch of celebrities got together and said, I haven't been a middle class working American in 15, 20 years, and this is what I assume that happens.
I think Valentine's Day is a big holiday for a lot of people.
But
I
it's
wouldn't
but
say
it's
it's as
not
big
like
as
Christmas or like New Year's, like
I would
or
say it's
even
a,
the
I would
Super
say
Bowl.
it's Oh, I would disagree. I think a lot happens on
Maybe I've been
Valentine's
single
Day
for way
around the
too
world.
long. I don't know. Maybe
Yeah,
that's the other issue. Maybe that's the other reason I just
think
hate this movie.
I mean, like I think like Cassie and I treat Valentine's Day like we always try to book things like maybe the weekend ahead of time or the weekend after because Valentine's Day is so busy. Like restaurants completely fill up, everybody goes out. Like it's definitely a large day and there's a lot of money that moves through it. I would agree that it's not as big as Christmas, mostly because it doesn't involve family get-togethers. So there's not necessarily like, and I can also see your argument for the Super Bowl being bigger because those events require gatherings,
Yeah,
whereas Valentine's Day is the purpose is one-on-one time. So I think it's
true.
definitely focused more on like going out to dinner or setting up a date at home. But I don't. I would say globally, or at least in the let me rephrase, at least in America, I would say I'm just making this up, but it's probably like the third or fourth most popular holiday.
I wonder what would be. So Christmas is obviously the biggest.
And I would put Valentine's Day on par with New Year.
I don't know about that. I mean,
I'm looking up some type of metric on
most
this.
celebrated holidays in the United States. I
Yeah,
don't know.
there you go. Most celebrated. That's a good one.
I was,
Most
I was gonna make a joke and be
popular.
like, yeah, even Arbor Day is more celebrated.
Even
Let's
Happy
go.
Leif Erikson Day. Most
Oh,
popular
SpongeBob.
holiday in the U.S. Let's see. Here we go.
Is
The
it?
top 10 most celebrated. Oh, interesting. It is not, at least from Liz Binet. It okay, here we go. So Christmas,
Mm-hmm.
Hanukkah,
Okay.
New Year,
Mm-hmm.
Chinese New Year,
Mm-hmm.
Ramadan, Easter, and Valentine's Day. And now here's my argument, which I already addressed, but all of those above Valentine's Day involve getting together with people.
Or, with the exception of New Year's, are a religious event.
True, which usually like for all of those you have a gathering, even Easter, right? You have people come over for Easter egg hunts. So I think they include more people. Whereas, so I would say Valentine. Okay, here we go. Valentine's Day is the most popular isolated holiday. That's the official term.
I, most popular isolated. I wouldn't say isolated. I would say like private. Because
They're
like
private. Yeah,
because
private's a better
if
word.
you're like when you say isolated, it's like me being single and violent. Yes, I'm isolated here in my room. Like
So would you say that speaking from, you brought it up, but would you say that like President's Day is more your holiday?
it's all about Arbor Day, man. Like I just go out and hug a tree.
I live for Arbor Day. I spend weeks planning my reservation.
I took the time off work already.
Yeah.
I'm just ready to go. It's like Star Wars Day is more my holiday than anything
But
else.
I do think it's obviously they made this one first, so they must have felt obviously the relationships and everything. There's definitely room for drama on
Well,
Valentine's
if
Day.
you're gonna do a holiday related to a romantic comedy, what would have started better than Valentine's Day and then New Year's when you kiss everyone at midnight or whatever?
Exactly. It'd be interesting if they did Christmas, and I don't know how. I mean, that's like every Hallmark movie ever. So at least they chose something a little different to go with. But I definitely will say I didn't feel like any situation was outlandish in this movie. Maybe like
No,
some of
but
the dialogue wasn't as good, but I think all of it happens.
like it's not outlandish. It's just not realistic. And I get it's a movie. I do understand that it's a movie, but like,
Sure.
you know, what right-minded business owner is going to look at this little kid who's walking into a shop and be like, "Here's 25 cents. Can you give a bouquet of $55 roses to my girlfriend?"
Me.
Oh, I'd shoo the kid away. What are you talking about?
You
I
wouldn't want to make someone's holiday?
No, I want to make money. That's why I'm running a business.
But I would say a bouquet shop. I mean, I don't even know. My mom does work at a nursery, but I would say that guy, Ashton Kutcher probably, I don't even know what amount. Him losing $40 to make some kid's cute little dream come
It's a
true.
kid. You have to reinforce the fact that the world is a cruel and unrelenting place at some point in its life.
Here's a story that I'll tell you that was my dad. So he used to walk when he was little. I always tell my dad stories because I don't have anything as embarrassing as this. So when he was little, he went outside this toy store every day, and they had two really big Ferris wheels that were always like very colorful and would go around. And he would walk by every day on the way to school, and he'd stop and look at it. And after like a month, the toy shop owner came out and gave it to him. And just said, like, hey, he's like, I don't have any money, but the owner said, hey, like, I know you look at it every day. So guess what my dad did? He went home, combed his hair the other direction, and started walking by every day again because he wanted the other one. But, so 2 points. Yes, kids need to be reinforced that things just don't happen for you. But 2, shop owners also give kids free things.
I would, like yes, but that was, like, so far, away from, like, the current time. Like,
I think I would, if an adorable little kid came in.
If an adorable little kid is walking by GameStop every day and looks at the PS5 counter, I'm not going to give the kid a free PS5.
Well, it's not $55.
Well, neither was that Ferris wheel back in the day, I can 100% guarantee.
It was probably like $30 back in the day.
Yeah. So, like...
but a PS5 is like $500.
Yeah, but, like, to get the point, like, a kid walking by and being cutesy doesn't automatically guarantee that they get something for free.
And I don't think it guaranteed it. It was just an exception. I don't know. I think it's just a one-off.
But he was also in a good mood. His Jessica Alba girlfriend was like, yeah, I'll marry you, but not really.
I think it's also just some people are just nice.
I guess I'm just not.
And I think it's important to remember that other people just view things differently in life.
I mean, the point of the movie is also just to be, like, cutesy and romantic and, like, but it doesn't work. Maybe it's because I've been single for too long. Maybe that's why I just hated this movie more than anything else.
Maybe I made you watch a movie about tons of different couples.
Hey, Garrett, you know that thing you don't have right now? You want to watch a movie about it?
Boy, do I have a film for you.
Now I'm gonna watch. Now I'm gonna suggest a movie like All Is Lost or Buried, where it's one person
or Cast Away. Buried is. I would love to rewatch Buried. We should do that on a rewatchable.
I actually haven't seen it, so it would be a show and tell.
Whoa! Oh, that's crazy. But you referenced it. What a pull.
Well, yeah, I was just looking through a bunch of movies on HBO and stuff like that, and I saw it on there.
You should watch it. You can watch it now, but we'll do it on the next show and tell.
Yeah, just in the middle of the podcast. Let me go ahead and pull it up real quick.
Hey, let's go ahead and pause real quick. So, Garrett, what did you think about Buried?
It's like a on the spot reporter. Like, well, I can tell you out here, Adrian, right now that it's really dark and it's really it's just so packed in. I don't know what's going on.
Let's go live to Garrett in the theater right now. He's got about 100 people in that theater with him. Let's go ahead and hear what he has to say. Hey, Garrett, how's it going in the theater?
It's like hurricane winds. Oh, I'm out here in Louisiana.
You just hear everyone else, shut up!
I'm trying to watch Ryan Reynolds here. Anyhow.
And that's it, just Ryan Reynolds. That's it. That's the only character.
Which, by the way, we're getting so off topic, but have you seen the trailer for the Adam Project yet? On Netflix? Oh boy, does that look good.
Is it Ryan Reynolds? Oh, interesting.
Ryan Reynolds, Mark Ruffalo, and Jennifer Garner.
Interesting, Mark. Okay, Cassie will like it. But I think this movie, to jump back, I don't, at least in my impression, yes, it's very, I guess, like, heightened. Everything is exaggerated because obviously it's a movie. But I really felt like everything had a grounded place that it came from. Like, I really did feel like being proposed to and then not wanting to do it and then cheating, like, all that stuff happens all the time in the world. Like, kids wanting to give their Valentine's Day to their teachers and then having the teachers being like, no, you should give it to a kid. Like, that stuff is totally all the time. The thing I didn't like, and I even said it while I was watching the movie, is the fact that Patrick Dempsey, Harrison, whatever his last name was in the movie, if you're this invested in having two relationships, don't buy your two different flowers from the same flower shop, my guy. No paperwork. I even told Cassidy, I was like, I would never do this, but that's not how you do it. Like, you absolutely would not want any paper trail back to the same place. Like, why would you want any human being to know?
Yeah.
Even your florist. Like, it doesn't make it. I was like, that's not true.
It's like paying for a prostitute with a personal check. Like, why would you do that? Yeah. I don't have my cash or card on me. Would you mind taking a check?
Would you mind taking a cashier's check? I have to run to the bank.
It's a traveler's check. I'll go ahead and... would you mind taking some yen?
Can I pay you in rubles?
Or just rubies from, like, Legend of
Zelda?
But I think my biggest problem with this, and it wasn't so much a problem with New Year's Eve. I mean, it was, but here it was more egregious to me. Was that it feels like they took the stereotypical romantic comedy or romance movie story, like every kind of like stereotypical one, any kind of cliche, and just shoved it into a movie without taking the time to expand on any of those stories to make them interesting. Like they're so curious, they're just so like hellbent on getting as much in the movie as possible, having as many stars in that they forget to make the stories interesting. And I'm not, and don't get me wrong, I'm not like hating on this movie because it's a romance movie. I'm not hating on it because it's a romantic comedy movie.
I don't think that. Yeah,
I think those movies are fantastic. The Proposal is a fantastic movie, and that is
absolutely.
a romantic comedy. It's just you don't make these stories very interesting. Like,
Oh, have you ever seen The Vow?
I have heard of it, but I have not seen it.
Oh, that's another good one. Okay.
All right. Well, is there anything else you'd like to bring up with Valentine's Day before we get off topic again?
Yeah, I think that I do agree that there were definitely plot points that were just for filler. Like I would say Bradley Cooper and Jessica Roberts?
Julia Roberts.
Julia Roberts. Those plots were very much shoe-ins at the end. Like I almost think that they weren't even contracted until after this movie was almost done filming. Like I think they were like, "Oh, I'm free for a weekend. We can add Bradley Cooper to this movie." And Julia Roberts. So like those,
the movie's only an hour and 15 minutes. We got to put in 15 more minutes.
and that's absolutely how it felt for like Halle Berry's character in New Year's Eve. Like just shooing it in at the end. Like it had zero weight, but there were also a lot that I really liked. Like I thought the whole high school dynamic between Grace and whoever her boyfriend were. Like I thought that the whole like pressure, like they're gonna have their first sex on Valentine's Day, and the pressure with all that. I feel like that's what a lot of people go through in like timing it, and I just felt like there was a lot of stuff that felt realistic throughout this movie. Of course, again, totally overblown. Like it's realistic, and then let's go ahead and multiply by 10,000 and put famous people in it, and it doesn't feel very real. But I thought it was fun. I mean, I still think it's a fun movie, just like I thought New Year's Eve was a fun movie. But I do think. And not in like it's so for me, and not in it's so bad that you need to drink for it, but I think drinking would enhance this movie.
I had to take a shot at tequila just to even get through the rest of it. So
I don't think I've ever watched something and been like, man, I gotta take a shot.
I have never done that ever, and I watched Space Jam: The New Legacy and Deck the Halls. So, I don't know what that says.
Is this the first 0?
No, we're not at the scores yet.
Oh, wow, that will be crazy. But yeah, that's my final thoughts. I mean, I enjoyed it. I definitely think it's if you liked New Year's Eve, then you'll probably like Valentine's Day. They're almost identical movies, just on different holidays. This one's definitely more intricate, though. I would say the connections are a lot more elaborate in this movie. I feel like they've made this one, spent a lot more time on it, and definitely took the easy route on New Year's and just had multiple, like, here's these isolated subplots. Whereas this one, I feel like a lot of them did tie into each other in more ways than one. Like, this person was connected to these two people, and their mom was this person who's connected to this person. Like, it was very much multi-connected, which was kind of cool to watch unfold.
Gotcha. So what did you give it as a score?
What did I give New Year's Eve?
I can look it up. It's going to have to give me a second.
Because I definitely think it's better, but I have a number in my head, but I don't want to contradict myself.
Let me see here. You just give it a lower one.
That's I want it because
the whole time you're like, yeah, it's better. I wouldn't necessarily, and then just
it's happened before, and I've had to justify it.
You gave it a 62.
Okay, that's not. I gave this movie a 72.
All right. Yeah, I I had to go back and forth on what I wanted to give this movie, and I mean what I'm saying as this final thought. It is a joke. Please do not take this seriously. I said Valentine's Day makes me want to die alone, as nothing in this movie is realistic. The situations are forced, and it's the only movie I've ever had to watch in chunks because I couldn't take it, and because of that, I gave the movie a 2. It is among the worst movies I've ever seen. So
there you go. What did you give New Year's Eve?
15.
Oh, wow, you really thought it was better.
Yeah. I
Wow.
thought New Year's Eve was more interesting because there was the possibility of telling more unique stories. Here,
Mm,
it was just cliche after just, tired story type. So,
sure.
yeah, I did not have a good time at all with this movie. So, I would rather watch Cinderella again. And
Mm,
that's saying something.
I would not want to watch Cinderella again.
But we already kind of talked about that with the awards show. But that is going to bring us to an end for this episode. Sorry, that was a bit of a downer on my on my part. But Adrian, if anyone doesn't know where to find us online, and we're almost at 90 episodes now, they have to have listened to us at some point. But where can they find us?
Yeah, if you're new here, thanks for being here, first off. If you're watching us here on YouTube, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and hit the bell. We post every Monday at a bare minimum. We have extra episodes that come out here and there. We just did an MCU tier list, which is picking up some great traction. So go ahead and head over there if you want to know what we think lands where from the MCU. If you're listening to us on Spotify or Stitcher or Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen, we are at the Drive Back Podcast. So make sure to subscribe or follow us on that app and give us any review you feel. Even if it's terrible, reviews are the best way to get us more exposure. So go ahead and leave whatever you feel about this. And then if you want to talk to us or you want to kind of keep up to date or see us on your social media or send us a DM on what we should watch or how you feel about us as people and hurt our feelings, you can find us basically on Instagram at the Drive Back Podcast as well. We post whenever we have new episodes, we chat whenever someone wants to engage, and we take recommendations on what we should watch. So if
Absolutely.
you want to talk to us, head over there.
Your recommendations could show up as one of our Phone a Friend episodes. So
It's true. Very, very true.
definitely send them in. Or if you're a personal friend of ours, let us know in person. But
Or send us a letter by owl, please.
either owl or carrier pigeon. I will take either one of those.
Quick pop quiz. Harry Potter trivia, real quick. I don't know why, but owl letter made me think of it. I want to see if you know it. Can you name Harry Potter's 3 broomsticks?
Well, he had the
I
Nimbus.
could name 2 of them. I could not think of the last one.
He had a Nimbus 2000,
Correct.
and then he got a Nimbus. He didn't get another Nimbus. If he did, it was a 2001.
That's correct.
And then he also had like a Thunderbolt.
That's so close.
Or
You want
like,
to try again?
Or it's like it's something bolt, or maybe a
Wow,
lightning.
that's so good.
It was not like.
I'm gonna give it to you. It's the Thunderbolt 7.
Oh, there's a number. Okay, yes. At least
And then
I knew Thunderbolt.
There's also the Firebolt as well.
We had 4.
There's a bunch actually. I guess in the
That
books.
he had. Because you said there were 3 that he had.
All the Harry. Wow, now we're in. Here we go, trivia time, everyone. All the Harry Potter broomsticks
Harry Potter trivia time on the Drive Back Podcast Valentine's Day special.
rated by speed. Blue Bottle, Silver Arrow, Shooting Star, Clean Sweep, Comet 290, Nimbus 2000, Nimbus 2001, Firebolt, and then Ginny's. The Thunderbolt 7 is the fastest broom in the series.
All right.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Thanks for listening to a Valentine's Day episode. Next week, we got our first franchise fever in a while. We're covering Jumanji. We got
Very excited
Jumanji,
about this one.
Zathura, and the later 2 Jumanji films. So those are coming up. Yes, we are counting Zathura because it's by the same author and it's the same type of movie.
It's just space Jumanji.
That's exactly it. With Dax Shepard.
Yeah, and I just watched it like 3 weeks ago before we decided that it would be the franchise fever.
Yeah, I watched
Just
it.
watch it for fun.
I think I watched it like a couple months back on my blog.
Yeah.
And rated it. So should be a pretty easy discussion. We won't have to rewatch it.
Yeah. And I feel like the one I probably haven't seen the longest is unfortunately the original Jumanji, but I've seen both of the new ones a couple times as well.
I have not seen either of the new ones, so this is going to be very.
Oh, that'll be interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
Did you avoid them or?
They just never piqued my interest, or they came out at a weird time, and just I wasn't going to the theater very much, or
Sure. Yeah.
whatever reasoning
Fair
why.
enough.
But speaking of my blog, you can check it out there if you want to see any new movie release reviews. We haven't been doing too many here on the podcast because I know, Adrian, you really haven't had the opportunity to go to the theater too much. So,
No, life's
but,
crazy.
But you can see my 2 new release film reviews for the year. Just reviewed Jackass Forever, which got a
That's one I
92.
want to see. Yeah, I want to see that really bad.
Gave it a 92 because it's the movie our world needs right now. And watched Nightmare Alley because it did get nominated for Best Picture, and that got an 85. So you can
And
check
that's
that out
on Hulu now.
and HBO.
Yeah.
So, but that's going to bring us to an end for this episode. Again, next week is the Jumanji franchise. We love you so much. We'll see you here next time on The Drive Back. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Drive Back. Make sure to be on the lookout for new episodes every Monday, and make sure to follow us on social media.